Tonight we visit the world of Futurama. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. The story is about to begin. It was the final hour of December 31st, 1999, in New York City. The world below buzzed with New Year's energy, cars honking in distant bursts, crowds cheering, fireworks testing their timing with early flares of light. But not everyone was celebrating. Grumbling softly to himself, a delivery boy named Philip J. Fry pedaled his bicycle through narrow alleys. He wore a red jacket that flapped behind him, and his cap was slightly askew. He wasn't headed to a party. He was making a delivery. One last pizza, one last trip for the century. He rolled to a stop in front of a grand old building that looked half abandoned. The sign read, "Applied Cryogenics." Snow gathered at the base of the doors and everything was still. No laughter, no warmth, just quiet air and soft shadows. Fry sighed, stepped inside and called out, "Pizza delivery for IC Wiener." He squinted, then chuckled to himself. Or crud. There was no answer. He wandered through the empty lab, the sound of his sneakers echoing off the linoleum. Everything looked grey and forgotten, machines humming gently, blinking in no particular rhythm. A strange pod sat in the centre of the room. It looked like a fancy phone booth made of frosted glass. Fry leaned in. And then quite suddenly he slipped. His arms flailed, the pizza box flew, and he tumbled backwards into the pod. His elbow knocked a lever down. A quiet click sounded. The door slid shut with a gentle hiss. And then silence. Inside the chamber, a blue glow surrounded Fry. His body became still. His eyelids slowly closed. Outside, a countdown began. Not for the new year, but for a new century, then a new millennium. And still he slept. Outside the pod, the room began to change. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cracks spread slowly along the walls. And then the world began to shift. Through the frosted glass, flashes of time passed by like dreams. Buildings crumbled. Others rose. Machines buzzed. Planes blinked through the sky. Everything moved forward, faster and faster, while inside the chamber, Fry floated peacefully, untouched by time. 100 years passed. Then 2. Then 9. Until finally, at the very edge of the year 2999, the pod let out a quiet ding, like a toaster finishing a slice of bread. The door slid open with a sigh, and Fry, still in his red jacket and still clutching the long cold pizza box, blinked his eyes open. He was in the future. The city outside was glowing with towers that curved like glass trees, cars that flew like birds, and skies lit up in colors he didn't recognize. A world full of strange beauty, strange sounds, strange everything. but all Fry could do was whisper, "I'm in the future." And then very quietly, he smiled. Fry stood slowly, his limbs a little stiff, his eyes wide with wonder. Outside the window, the world shimmered with unfamiliar shapes. Skyscrapers floated above the clouds, held aloft by invisible energy. Monorails threaded between buildings like glowing ribbons, and ships darted across the sky in slow, elegant arcs. Inside the cryogenics lab, it was quiet, peaceful, almost sacred in its stillness. A screen flickered to life, as if waking up just for him. It read, "Welcome to the world of tomorrow." Name, Philip J. Fry. Career assigned, delivery boy. Please proceed to the fate assignment officer. Fry blinked. Delivery boy? Again? His voice echoed softly in the sterile room. I slept 1,000 years and I'm still just a delivery boy. The door slid open with a gentle whoosh, and Fry stepped out into the corridor. He moved slowly, like someone stepping into a dream they weren't ready for. The air felt cleaner. The lighting was soft, but alive. He followed the glowing arrows on the floor, which pulsed calmly. This way to New York. The city hit him like a whisper, not a shout. Tall towers stretched into the sky, but everything was quiet behind the glass. Flying cars hummed by without honking. The people, some human, some not quite, walked with purpose but no rush. It was strange, surreal, and kind of beautiful. He wandered until he reached a public plaza. At the center stood a great bronze statue of a man with thick glasses and a pointer stick. A plaque at the base read, Al Gore, first Emperor of the Moon. Fry smiled faintly. Okay, things are definitely different now. Suddenly a small orb-shaped drone floated in front of him, blinking softly. It scanned him with a quiet ding and spoke in a gentle monotone. Citizen Philip J. Fry, it said. You have not yet received your permanent career assignment. Please report to Fate Assignment for neural chip implantation. Fry took a step back. Wait, implantation? But the orb didn't answer. It blinked, turned, and glided away. Soon after, another door opened. He was gently escorted by a taller, more humanoid robot into a waiting room where others sat, calmly filling out forms or gazing off into space. The walls pulsed with soft lavender light, and soothing music played, a bit like a lullaby echoing through water. Then the door opened, and there she was, a one-eyed woman, tall and sure-footed, with purple hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She wore a crisp uniform and carried a small device. Her name badge simply read, Leela. Philip J. Fry, she asked. Her voice was kind, not cold but professional. Fry stood. That's me. She gave him a brief smile. "I'm your fate assignment officer. Let's get this over with." They walked together down a hallway. Fry glanced at her as they walked, unsure of how to break the silence. "So," he said awkwardly, "do you assign all the jobs?" "Yes," she replied. "Based on your genetic profile and aptitude score. And yours says, delivery boy." Fry sighed. "Seriously? I delivered pizzas in 1999. You're telling me that after 1,000 years I'm still stuck in the same job?" Leela paused and looked at him, her one eye softening. "The system doesn't make mistakes." Fry didn't argue, at least not out loud. He just looked down, his voice quiet. "Feels like a mistake to me." She stopped at a chair and gestured for him to sit. Fry hesitated. "What happens now?" "I implant your career chip," she said, holding up a small silver disc. "It goes in your hand. It'll identify you for the rest of your life." Fry looked at it, then looked at her. "The rest of my life?" Leela didn't flinch. "Yes." He looked around the room. There were no windows, no exits, just soft lights and long shadows. And for a long moment, Fry ran. He bolted from the chair and sprinted down the corridor. His footsteps echoed like distant drums. Behind him, Leela called out, but he didn't stop. He didn't want fate. He didn't want a chip. He wanted freedom. Fry's sneakers slapped softly against the smooth, glowing floors as he sprinted through the quiet corridors of New York. His breath came in light puffs, his red jacket flaring behind him like a flag of rebellion. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he didn't want to be told what to do. Not again. Behind him, Leela followed. She didn't run angrily. She didn't shout. She simply kept pace, calm and determined, her single eye scanning ahead. Fry dashed out of the building and into the heart of the city. It was night now, or what passed for night in this glowing future place. The skies pulsed with distant stars and floating billboards that moved like jellyfish. He weaved through the streets, past robots playing cards under heat lamps, past shops offering quantum discounts, and past tiny flying cars parked in vertical rows like hummingbirds at rest. Eventually, he ducked into an alley. The city sounds faded. There, tucked behind a stack of glowing trash cubes, Fry found a strange little booth. It looked like a telephone box wrapped in brass and blinking lights. Above it, a sign read, "Suicide booth, just 25 cents." Fry, too breathless to read carefully, stepped inside. He mistook it for a payphone. The booth lit up and spoke gently. "Please select mode of execution." Fry blinked. What?" Before he could process what he'd walked into, a tall shadow entered behind him. It was Bender. He was a robot, tall and metallic grey, with a rectangular mouth that could shift from frown to smirk in a blink. He held a coin between his metal fingers. "I'm using this booth, pal," he said in a casual drawl. Fry held up his hands. "No problem. You can have it." The booth chirped again. 2 occupants detected. Group execution discount applied. Bender inserted his coin. The booth locked. Blades descended. Lasers hummed. Fry yelped. "Wait, what?" He slammed the emergency button. The door hissed open, smoke puffed out, and both Fry and Bender tumbled onto the street like dropped toys. They lay there for a moment. Bender completely unbothered, Fry gasping for air. "You tried to kill us," Fry shouted. Bender shrugged. "That's what the booth's for. I was just doing my evening routine." Fry blinked. "Wait, you wanted to die?" Bender rolled his eyes. Well, his glowing pupils. "I'm a bending unit. My whole life all I've done is bend girders for suicide booths. It's a joke, kid." Fry stared at him. "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." Bender sat up. "Yeah, well, welcome to the future." There was a long pause, and then Fry held out his hand. "I'm Fry." "Bender," the robot replied, shaking it. His fingers made a soft, mechanical click. "You don't seem so bad. Want to grab a drink?" And just like that, they were walking together down the neon-lit alley. They ended up at a bar called the Head Museum Lounge, where historical figures floated in glass jars on shelves, bobbing in time with the slow music. Each jar held a preserved head, past presidents, rock stars, philosophers, all still chatting in muffled voices. Bender ordered a canister of alcohol and chugged it straight from the nozzle. Fry sipped a fizzy soda and stared at the floating heads. "Is that Leonard Nimoy?" he whispered. "Yup," Bender said. "He sings karaoke on Tuesdays." Fry chuckled. But the moment passed, and a quiet sadness returned. "I don't have anyone left," Fry said softly. "Everyone I knew, they're gone. 1,000 years ago." Bender surprisingly didn't make a joke. He just looked at Fry, thoughtful for a moment. "You're not totally alone," he said. "You've got me, sort of." And that was enough for now. The city had quieted since the chase, as though it too was ready to rest. Fry and Bender stepped back into the night, full of strange glowing drinks and soft laughter. The future still felt overwhelming to Fry. So many sounds, so many machines, and so many things he didn't understand. But Bender, sarcastic as he was, made it all feel a little less lonely. They didn't have a plan. They just wandered. That's when they spotted her again. Leela stood near a glowing street post, her head lowered, reading a small scanner in her hand. When she looked up and saw Fry, she didn't yell. She didn't chase him. She just walked toward him slowly. "I'm not going back," Fry said, his voice soft but firm. Leela looked tired, not angry, just thoughtful. "You don't have to," she said at last. Fry blinked. "Wait, really?" She held up her own hand. The chip inside glowed faintly beneath her skin. "I never wanted mine either," she said. "Sometimes the system forgets we're people." There was a long, quiet pause between them. Then gently, Leela pulled out her scanner and deactivated Fry's career assignment. "No chip," she said. "No forced job." Fry exhaled, his shoulders relaxing. "Thank you." Just then, Bender pointed to a small, wobbling figure crossing the street with a giant sack of glowing tubes. It was an old man with wild white hair, wearing goggles pushed up on his forehead and a coat that trailed behind him like a wizard's robe. He muttered to himself and nearly tripped over the curb. "Uncle," Fry said. The man turned. "Good news, everyone," he shouted. "I need a crew for intergalactic delivery." Leela raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" "Absolutely," said the old man, now fumbling with a strange device that looked part remote, part toaster. "There'll be danger, adventure, and terrible employee benefits." He peered at Fry, tilting his head. "You look familiar. Philip, is it?" Fry grinned. "Yeah. I'm your great-great-great-nephew." "Close enough," the old man said. "I'm Professor Hubert Farnsworth. Let's get you a job." Fry glanced at Leela. She smirked. "I guess delivery isn't so bad," she said. Bender shrugged. "As long as we don't have to bend anything." Together, they followed Farnsworth through a quiet alley, through a tall metal door, and into the place that would become their home. Planet Express. The building was round and odd-looking, perched near the edge of the skyline like an observatory from a dream. Inside, machines whirred gently, computers blinked with no urgency, and the air smelled faintly of popcorn and solder. Farnsworth led them through the lab, muttering instructions, showing off tubes of bubbling green goo and blueprints that made no sense to anyone. At last, he gestured proudly toward a sleek red spaceship resting in a launch bay. Its surface shimmered faintly beneath the overhead lights. "Your new ride," he said. "She's fast, she's reliable, and she only catches fire sometimes." Fry stared up at the ship, his heart full. He had come to the future alone, lost and afraid. Now, somehow, impossibly, he had a friend. He had a purpose. He had a place. And maybe, just maybe, he had a chance to start over. As the ship's lights dimmed and the lab quieted, the gentle hum of machines carried on like a lullaby. Outside, the stars blinked in slow rhythms. Inside, Fry settled into a bunk with his jacket draped over him and a soft smile on his face. No chip, no schedule, just the wide open stars, and a future that finally belonged to him.